Job lost everything. His children were taken. His properties were taken. His health gone.
Why? Because he was faithful to God. Because God allowed it.
So why does God let bad things happen to good people? Why does God let us suffer?
Hello, welcome back to this channel. Why does God allow his children to suffer? Why does God allow evil to happen to good people, innocent people? In the Bible, there was a conversation between God and Satan, a real conversation, and the subject of that conversation was a good man who had done nothing wrong. He was faithful to God and completely obedient to him. To summarize the conversation, God said to Satan, "Have you seen my servant? He is faithful to the end." In other words, God was telling Satan, in spite of your antics, I will raise obedient servants across the world. But Satan said to God, "You think he's faithful for no reason? He is faithful because you have given him everything. Take away everything away from him and see what happens next." You see what Satan is doing here? Satan is being transactional. You give and you get. You don't give, you don't get. He did that with Jesus too, remember? He said, "Bow to me and I will give you all of this." Speaking of the entire kingdom of the world. Never mind, it was never his to give in the first place. Anyways, by the end of that conversation, God said to Satan, "Okay, you go ahead. Everything he has is in your hand. Do what you may with it." Let that sink in with you for a second. Satan got a license to do whatever he wanted with a faithful servant of God. Think about it carefully, because this can become personal. Because if you've ever suffered something you did not deserve, you have asked, "Why me? Why would this happen to me?" You lose a job after putting in everything you've got, while others take the glory. A child experiences a devastating illness for doing nothing wrong at all. A good person gets into an accident for trying to be kind to other people. There are countless of stories like that. Job was about to feel that in a big way. So why would a good God stand back and let the enemy torture a righteous man? Before we get into this, notice the mindset of God here. He was boastful of Job. He was proud of Job. He obviously loved the man. Here is how the Bible describes it. "And the Lord said unto Satan, Hast thou considered my servant Job, that there is none like him in the earth, a perfect and an upright man, one that feareth God and escheweth evil." Job chapter 1 verse 8. Notice who brings up Job first. It wasn't Satan, it was God. He says there is none like him, none better, no one like him. Now, here is the thing. That is not a taunt, that is a declaration. Before a single thing happens to Job, heaven has already ruled on his character. He was a good man, a faithful servant to God, period. Well, Satan's response? He does what Satan always does. He does not argue with the facts. He attacks the motive. He said to God, "Does Job fear God for nothing? Have you not put a hedge around him? A protection around him and his household and everything he has? Have you not blessed the work of his hands so that his flock and herds are spread throughout the land? Now stretch out your hand and strike everything he has, and he will surely curse you to your face." Job chapter 1 verses 9 to 11. Read that again. Does Job fear God for nothing? Is Job faithful for no reason? You need to understand what Satan is really saying here. He's not saying Job is a fraud. No, he's saying nobody actually loves God for God. Every believer is purchased, paid for, protected, blessed, and the moment that blessing ends, they stop worshiping God. Is that true? So the accusation is not only about Job, it is about you, it is about me, and it is about God, our relationship with God. Satan is saying to God, nobody will love you if you were not paying them with blessing, with a trouble-free life. God saw the trick anyhow, and he decided it must be disproved. So, as the Bible said, the Lord said to Satan, "Very well then, everything he has is in your power, but on the man himself do not lay a finger." Then Satan went out from the presence of the Lord. Job chapter 1 verse 12. Let us pause here for a second, because there is something here most people miss completely. Satan does not get a blank check. He gets a leash. In chapter 1, he can touch the possessions and nothing else. Later, when he comes back for more, demands for more permission, God permits the body. But instantly, God said to him, you must not touch his life. Think about what this means. The devil does not have unlimited access to a child of God. He's not able to do whatever he wants with you. He is a creature asking permission. Without permission from God or from you, he is powerless. But that still leaves us with this tough question to answer. If God is not a tempter, and the Bible is absolutely clear that he is not, because it says, when tempted, no one should say, God is tempting me. For God cannot be tempted by evil, nor does he tempt anyone. James chapter 1 verses 13. What exactly is happening here? Okay, now this is important. So slow down with me a little bit. There is a difference between tempting and testing, and that difference is the whole basis of this story that I want you to understand. Temptation is designed to make you fail. Testing is designed to prove what is already there. What God already bestowed upon you is to show it off. The goldsmith does not put gold in the fire hoping to destroy it. It puts it in the fire because he already knows what's in it. It can withstand the fire. You can withstand the fire. God never tempted Job. God never said, go and destroy this man if you can. God did not want Job to fail. That's important. The proposition to test Job was Satan's. He said to God, take everything he has and he will surely curse you to your face. So, you see, the malice was Satan's and the hand that struck was Satan's. What God did was permit a test of the gold as the goldsmith. God obviously knew Job would not fail. He will go to the brink for sure, but he will not fail. That is exactly what happened. But someone might ask, could Job have failed? Yes, he could have. He must be willing to succeed, as we must be willing to succeed. This brings up a very important concept, the concept of free will. A lot of Christians talk about free will, but do they really understand it? We love it when it means we get to do whatever we want to do, right? But we do not like it when it means somebody else get to choose as well. Satan has a will too, and he made his choice a long time ago, before Job was ever born. He said, for thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. Isaiah chapter 14 verses 13 to 14. That was Satan speaking. Count them. How many times did he say in that short passage, I will? 4 times. I will, I will, I will, I will. That is the whole quarrel. His fight was never with Job. His fight is with God. But he cannot touch God, so he does what all cowards do. He goes after what God loves. You need to understand this because it will change how you think about your own suffering. When the enemy comes after you, it is not always because of something you did wrong. Sometimes it is simply because of whose side you are on. You are not necessarily the target, you are just the message. But Job also had a will too, a free will to continue to be on the side of God. That is the part everybody forgets. God did not gamble on Job. God knew Job. Satan was the only one in that room who did not know how it was going to end. God already knew. Anyways, Satan went to work on Job. He took all of Job's animals, the oxen gone, the sheep gone, the camels gone. Even the servants were cut down. And then came a message that no father should ever want to receive. His house collapsed and all 10 of his children were inside. All gone in one afternoon. Who could ever handle a thing like that? Still, that was not enough. Satan went after his body. He developed itchy sores all over his body. The Bible says he would sit in ashes and scratch himself with broken ceramics. And what did Job have to say in all of this? He said, naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked will I depart. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. May the name of the Lord be praised. Job chapter 1 verse 21. He left everything to the will of God. Okay, true, but that's not the whole story. Now, let's be honest, because I do not want to give you a polished version of Job's story. Job did not stay silent all the time. okay? Of course not. He's human. Read the middle of the book of Job. You will see he argued. He complained. At one point, he even said he wished he was never born. Still, God stood by him. You need to understand this. Job wrestled with God just like Jacob did. But wrestling with God is not the same thing as walking away from God. There is a big difference. And then came the most difficult part of it all, the hardest part of the story. The Bible says, his wife said to him, "Are you still maintaining your integrity? Curse God and die." Job chapter 2 verse 9. Okay, I know what you're thinking. This woman must be evil. But let's pause and consider this for a second, because people are sometimes too hard on this woman, I've learned over the years. Don't forget, she lost her children too, her home, her life. She is watching her husband rot alive. She may not have possessed the steadfast faith like her husband, but it wasn't evil. She was simply broken. Like many of us. She was saying what a lot of us would say in such a situation. We say, there is nothing left to lose, let's move on. But there is a problem. Grief is real, true, but bad advice is still bad advice. Thankfully, Job did not take that advice, and because he did not, he was able to save everyone, including his doubting wife. So why did God allow Job to suffer? Job himself asked the same question. He wanted a reason. He wanted an answer. He wanted to understand. I have done everything right. Why am I like this? But God answered him with a question. God said, "Where were you when I laid the foundation of the earth? Tell me if you understand. Tell me if you understand. Tell me if you think you know." Now, think about what God is doing here. He is showing him his short-sightedness. We complain in ignorance. We read one page of a book with 1,000,000 pages and declare the story is unfair. We see one side of a story with infinite ending and possibilities, and we complain God is unfair. God sees the beginning from the end. We see the next 5 minutes. That's if we are lucky. Here is what's interesting. Notice God never tells Job about the conversation he had with Satan in chapter 1. Job died not knowing what was discussed about him, not knowing why he was suffering. But we know, because we have the book of Job to read. But Job never did. It was not relevant. And that was enough for him. He said, "My ears had heard of you, but now my eyes have seen you." Job chapter 42 verse 5. Read that carefully. Job did not get an explanation. He got God, and he said that was more than enough. So let me bring this to a close. First, God is not the author of your suffering. Satan is. Satan struck Job, not God. Do not let anyone put that on your benevolent creator. Second, the enemy has a limit. Every attack on Job had a limit enforced by God himself. The devil could only go so far, and that is still true today. Third, this is the one I want you to take with you. Suffering is not always punishment. Job's friends spent a significant part of the book insisting he must have done something wrong. He must have sinned. They were wrong. And God said so at the end. So the next time you see somebody in ashes, somebody suffering, do not go looking for their sin. Do not assume that they've done something wrong. And fourth, we cannot do this alone. We never have to do it alone. Job did not have what we have. He did not have the redemption of the cross. He kept crying out for a mediator, somebody to stand between him and God, to speak for him. He had none, but we do, which is why the instruction is this: submit yourselves therefore to God, resist the devil, and he will flee from you. James chapter 4 verse 7. Submit first, then resist. It has to be in that order every time. And how did it end? The Bible said, "And the Lord turned the captivity of Job when he prayed for his friends. Also, the Lord gave Job twice as much as he had before." Job chapter 42 verse 10. Look at when the turn came. Not when he won his argument, it was when Job prayed for his friends. The same people who have spent the entire passage, the entire book, accusing him of doing something wrong. The restoration came on the other side of forgiveness. So here is what I'm going to leave you with today. Satan ask one important question at the start of the story. Does anyone love God for nothing? He thought there wasn't anyone. But Job, a man sitting in ashes with nothing left, answered that question on our behalf. Blessed be the name of the Lord. You may be in your own chapter of challenge right now. The thing you built is gone. The prayer has not been answered. Nobody has explained anything to you why this is happening to you. You keep asking, what have I done to deserve this much suffering? But you need to understand there is a chapter 42, a chapter of resolution, a chapter of redemption. And God who saw your victory before your trial ever started is still alive. Thank you for watching. Please leave your thoughts in the comment section. I read every comment and I need to hear yours. God bless you. Amen.